I want to quickly talk to you about box truck business, and basically, I want to really quickly talk about the cost or the profits you can make depending on your geography. Okay, I really want to go granular in terms of the specific costs that you need to really think about this year. So let me give you first the types of box truck businesses that you can have, because the whole thing is that when you think about the box truck P&L, like a profit and loss, everything depends, of course, on the niche that you are hauling. It depends on your geography, but most importantly, it depends on what's your setup when it comes to logistics. Are you doing OTR? Are you doing let's say hazmat delivery? Are you doing some kind of specifics to let's say increase your profits? Okay, so that's really important. So when you think about a courier business this year that'll allow you to earn some cash, you got to also think about the cost aspect of things, not just about the cash inflow, but also the cash outflow. So what are the types here? You have a few business truck, let's say box truck business ideas. You have, for instance, you can do a regular delivery of parcels, let's just say shipping. So this is actually a typical courier business. So that's kind of cool. You also have a junk removal service. You have moving service. You have catering, food delivery. You have same day delivery. This could be an Amazon box truck business, for instance. Or you can also have, let's say, regular delivery. So that's what I said a little earlier. So you can do, when it comes to regular delivery, what you're going to love is that you're going to love the flexibility, because with a box truck business, you are able to start without really let's say, much complication. And you can actually do OTR, you can do hazmat. Now, if you are going to do hazmat, you might need to have specific equipment to make sure you can actually transport the hazmat material. But you also need to think about maybe getting an authority, maybe getting your MC number. And so that's going to give you more possibilities, which means that you can actually haul certain loads. Because when you go on load boards or you are working with a third party dispatcher, some dispatchers want you to have, let's say, authority, or get to have authority. So in terms of the types of box trucks, you have basic box trucks, you have landscape trucks, refrigerated trucks, or the reefers, and you also have you have utility trucks. So that's really good, especially if you are in a specific niche that requires that kind of equipment. So once you decide on the type of business and type of truck, you really have to pay attention now to the financial details. And let's talk about that. So when I talk about the financial details when it comes to a courier business with box truck, what are the costs that you need to really think about? Well, first of all, let me explain to you the cost that you need to really envision when it comes to starting a box truck business. Okay, so you have basically like the cost really depending upon your geography, of course, your zip code, but the cost is somewhere from $20,000 to $110,000. Okay, so that's the cost. Now, why such a big delta? Again, it depends on your geography. It depends on basically the regulations that you have in your city and state. It depends also on the kind of loads you are trying to haul. So this might actually call for additional equipment that to sort of reinforce, sort of beef up the infrastructure, if you will, within the box truck. Okay. Now, in terms of like when I spoke about $20,000 to $100,000 or even $110,000, I'm speaking about the cost to actually acquire a box truck. So this could be new or used box truck. You also might need to have a pallet jack. You might need to think about insurance. And you might need to think about working capital, especially if you are an owner-operator that has, let's say, comprehensive liquidity needs. Okay, so think about $20,000 to $100,000 as your cost, but you also have the possibility to go with a used box truck. So there's no need to actually have a new vehicle. You can go with the used one. Okay, and you also have to think about the possibility of actually putting some money down, because when it comes to acquiring, let's say, a box truck business, some players, some dealerships, or some dealerships want you to really put some money down. So if you are between $20,000 and $100,000, think about having an extra one, let's say $10,000, and you want to put it on the side just in case they want you to really put some money down. Okay, so the types of business box trucks you have them there, but now the cost. So the cost also, one thing I need to mention is that of course this cost will go up if you are having let's say a full staff. Let's say you have someone to take care of your bookkeeping, someone to take care of your back office, and you do not want to spend on like a dispatcher. So one thing you need to really understand here is that when you actually consider a courier business with a box truck, you need to really pay attention to insurance. Okay, insurance, and for insurance, you want to really let's say a forecast anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 all the way to $5,000 per year. Okay, and you also got to think about an electric pallet jack. So this will set you back $2,000 to $3,000 if you go to Home Depot, for instance. But if you're going with a manual pallet jack, this we have to pay anywhere from $400 to $1,500. So that's really good to think about. But I want to quickly go back to the fact that insurance is really important if you are going to drive for your own. Like if you want to if you want to haul your own, if you want to haul loads that your shippers have, let's say, entrusted you with, whether you found the shippers yourself or you went on a load board. But insurance also helps you when it comes to you wanting to work for Amazon. So Amazon does have a few specifics when it comes to insurance. So before you work for them, whether you have a box truck or you have a semi, like a semi, you always have the possibilities here. Okay, so possibility in terms of the type of insurance that you have. But one thing for sure, make sure that you get commercial general liability, because Amazon will want to have that in case again you want to transition to Amazon. At least you have it already. You also have auto liability. You have cargo coverage. You have a workers' compensation insurance, and also employer liability. Okay, so when you think about cargo coverage, you want to cover at least $100,000. Okay, that's what Amazon is asking for, and that's what really the average in the industry is calling for as well. When it comes to workers' compensation, this is actually you want to have insurance that's applicable in every jurisdiction where your box truck business is going to operate. And also, when I speak about employer liability, I'm speaking about a minimum amount of $100,000. So that's really the kind of setup I want you to really think about, not only now but in the future. So that's really good. One thing I also want to mention real fast is that you also have to account for working capital for your box truck startup. So working capital, you want to really budget anywhere from $5,000 all the way to $10,000. Okay, so working capital will cover fuel, driver food, and lodging if required, driver salary until you get paid by your customers, and also you have to really think about unexpected repair expenses. So when you think about a box truck business, especially the cash inflows and cash outflows, you have to really understand that there are some box truck expenses you need to account for this year, and this actually happened regardless of your location, whether you are in a mountainous area or you are on a flat area. You are going to incur box truck expenses. Okay, there are a number of expenses that are required in order to operate a box truck business, and so basically you want to pay attention to variable expenses, but also fixed expenses. So variable expenses, you have how many miles you drive, for instance, how many hours you drive, how many deliveries you make, and so on and so forth. When it comes to fixed expenses, then you have to think about stuff like load board subscription. Let's say a partnership with a third party, let's say a service such as a dispatcher service. So that's really good in terms of possibilities. You are going to love this aspect of things. And one thing I also want to mention is that when I spoke about load board, the cost to actually be on a load board will actually set you back somewhere from 30 grand all the way. I mean, $30 all the way to $170, $200. So this is really good. And one thing I also need to say is that when it comes to having a load board, please make sure that you pay for stuff, because those quote unquote free load boards are not really giving you the level of breadth and depth that you need if you take transportation seriously. If you take transportation business seriously, you are going to really sort of revamp certain things. So that's really good, not only in the short run but also in the long run. So this is something to really think about. If you want to start if you want to start a new business around your box truck this year. So now I just spoke to you about the cost, so the cash outflow side of things. What about the cash inflow? What about the revenue? Let's have a conversation about that. So when you think about the revenue, really you have three ways to actually estimate your revenue. So you can have a payment by the mile, payment by delivery, or payment by the hour. So whatever works for you really depends on the client, depends on the time of the year, depends on the geography you have to drive to, right? So if the geography is very remote, like rural areas, and you have to do some kind of last mile delivery type of stuff, then you want to be paid accordingly. You want to be paid well. So this is where you have to choose paid by the hour. So payment by the hour. So that gives you a lot of flexibility, especially when it comes to getting things done a lot faster. Okay, and you are able to actually recoup your investment real fast too. So when you think about payment by the mile, for instance, basically you might be paid anywhere from $1.50 to $2.50 and even $3 by mile. So when you actually drive, let's say if you drive a 100 mile, you potentially sitting on $200 in terms of payment for the day. Okay, and one thing I also want to say is that it really depends on what kind of a setup you want to have, especially if you work in multiple geographies. Let's say you're not an owner operator. Okay, you operate but also manage your company. Okay, so you have drivers in New York, drivers in California, drivers in Chicago, so to speak. So you have a lot of flexibility there. So that's really good. And well, one thing I want to say also is that whether you go with a payment by mile, payment by delivery, or payment by the hour, you have to really have a level of let's say a level of history, okay, that really tells you, hey, listen, this is the right path to go, and you're not really making a really risky decision, okay? Because otherwise, why would you spend let's say money buying a box truck only to realize that you can't really charge based on the model that you want? So when you think about the courier business with box truck, especially the cash inflows and cash outflows, you have to really remember that this is a very competitive field, that you're not going to sort of make it overnight. Okay, it takes time, it takes regularity, it takes commitment. So, and especially if you want to work for Amazon Relay. So Amazon really doesn't pay that much, but the good thing is you have work all the time. So Amazon Relay pays you anywhere from $1 to $3 per trip, but you have a lot of work. Okay, you have a lot of work all the time, and also, if you think about having a courier business with box truck this year, I mean, remember that your revenue will depend on how much input you actually have, right? How many hours you work every single week. That will have a big impact on your revenue, especially if you are being paid by the mile or by the hour. Okay, but normally a box truck driver can drive anywhere from 45 all the way to 70 miles during the week. So in 1 week, in a 7-day period, you are able to get things done a lot faster and see what works and what doesn't work for you. So that's really good. And also, one thing I want you to really remember is that you can also actually earn an extra $500 to $1,000 or even $1,500 in advertising revenue. So you're driving around, right? You're driving around, and you just want to put like on your truck some kind of advertising. So you just want to add advertising wraps to your truck, to your box truck. This will depend on your route and location, let's say specs. So everything has to be customized to see that it is scalable in the future. So if you are interested about the average box truck driver salary, right now you're looking at somewhere from 30 grand all the way to $60,000. So this is a pretty good idea when it comes to knowing what works for your situation. I mean, if you are going through a cash flow crunch right now, then you're not going to be willing to spend that much money anyway to actually be in business. But hey, listen, if you want to make money, you have to be willing, you have to be ready to spend money too. So this is a great great lesson that you have to really remember. So when you think about a box truck business, what kind of profit can you actually envision? What is the box truck business profit this year? Well, basically, you can generate an annual profit of $50,000 to $225,000. Okay, I'm speaking here about what? I'm speaking about gross revenue. So $50,000 to $225,000. But when it comes to the net income, expect somewhere from 50 grand all the way to 75 or $78,000. So you have a lot of you have a big delta, that's for sure. But you are able to make some good living. So that's pure net money, like after paying your business taxes. Of course, you might have to pay also your personal taxes, but that's another story for another day, right? But for if you want to really increase your box truck business, let's say affordability, but also business base, then you want to really remember that everything revolves around the cost, the cash outflows, but also the revenue you are able to generate, not only in the short run, but also in the long run. One thing for sure, if you are trying to really reduce risk, you want to really go for, let's say, mile, like payment per mile. That way, if you were to go around and drive and go to a village, you always have the possibility to actually connect with someone, and you can also make sure that your trip is actually monetized. I mean, your trip is generating some revenue for you, not only in the short run but also in the long run, because the whole thing is it's all about establishing a relationship with a shipper. Okay, but if you want, again, I want to say this: if you want to have a consistent revenue, you just set yourself up as an Amazon Flex delivery driver. Then you have a lot of work. I mean, even if it's not really paid the way you want it, at least you have something to fall back on. Because hey, listen, like during COVID, for instance, all those Amazon slash Walmart, they were still charging. They were still charging anyway. So it's one of those things where you have to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So one thing I also want to say is that just make sure that you base your decision after doing a thorough financial statements. Don't rush it. Take your time and just learn about the process, really. So in today's conversation, I spoke to you about courier business with box truck. I spoke about the cash inflows and cash outflows. And so I give you the type of business with box truck, the cost, the revenue, and now the bottom line. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.